you guys know what happened last week. We had the DC National Guard shooting. We were following that in real time. We know that people were trying to get out there. RT was trying to get a crew out there. People were posting about this, seeing the two guards that got shot. As we know, one of them is now dead. The other one is still in very bad condition. But the information about the background of the shooter, that kind of came out pretty quickly, and outlets like The Guardian had to report it because you couldn't not tell the reader this. The suspect in the Washington, D.C. National Guard shooting has ties to CIA. The agency is confirmed. He worked with the agency-backed military units during the U.S. war in Afghanistan. So we know this. This is fact. Now, how do you spin that where that's just a coincidence or it's a fluke or has nothing to do with the incident? Because we know that we actually have a Islam problem, right? Because this is the type of stuff being shared around in the little right-wing circles, and they're getting a lot of buzz about we need to cramp down now. We need a double down, triple down, quadruple down on military presence now in every city, which Trump now is telling us is happening as a result of this incident. So, of course, people like us here, we ask the question, was this just a convenient coincidence that you could use an incident like this to push more military occupation of U.S. cities? Or was there something behind this? So we're looking at the false flag element here and asking the right questions. So here's the guy. This is his little CIA info card that somebody was able to extract somewhere. And then here's a breaking. We saw this happen almost immediately. This thread that went around that the DC Guardsmen shooting, it's not adding up. The shooter, Ramamala Lakanwal, was a CIA-backed Kandahar Strike Force vet, and he had ties to CIA as part of a partner force based on declassified intel briefings. He ambushed these two unarmed guardsmen, 2:15, on the 25th, apparently yelling Allahu Akbar. And when you go to Google Trends, his name spiked before this. And I know, Craig, you saw this as well, this interesting timing of the name spike on Google Trends. So we need, as this person, Louis Montoya says, we need to subpoena the IPs. Here's one of the screenshots from it where you can see just before the shooting, you had this a massive spike for no reason. Why would there be a Google trend for this guy? It makes no effing sense before the shooting happened. After, we can understand. Absolutely, we can understand this. So questions are being circulated about this. Obviously, no one's coming out and giving us a real, honest explanation. Trump was asked about this. Listen to his answer. A reporter actually asked him, what's going on with the tie to this CIA, with this dude? What do you have to say about it?
In D.C., U.S. officials say that the suspect worked very closely with the CIA in Afghanistan for years, that he was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts. And that happens, too. It happens too often with these people. You see them. But look, this is how they come in. This is how they're standing on top of each other. And that's an airplane. There was no vetting or anything. They came in unvetted. And we have a lot of others in this country. We're going to get them out. But they go cuckoo. Something happens to them.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let them in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person.
So this is the game. Again, we see this pattern with every incident, right? You have each side blaming the other side. And if you look at the timeline, he's right. The guy was brought in when Biden was in office, but then when Trump's in office, he's the one that granted the amnesty to him. So they're both administrations are responsible for that. But again, this goes deeper than that, because we see a paper trail beyond this guy. The premise being Trump says, oh, he just lost his mind. He went nuts. It happens. So that's what he's going with, and while trying to blame Biden for being the one that's loose on, because that's the stigma of Biden, right? That all the Trumpers love to say Biden just has this open border policy. Everyone comes in, we don't care. But it was Trump that granted him amnesty. That needs to be also mentioned. But the fact is, there's more to this story beyond that. And when we look at the service member who is now dead, she's deceased, we found out even more about this. I don't know if you saw this, Craig, but this is what happened with Sarah Beckstrom. She's the one who passed away, one of the two that were shot. False flag exposed, Sarah Beckstrom. Her name was Googled in Israel days before the murder. What? Who's leaking guard intel to foreign powers? That's weird. So the DC National Guard ambush has now gotten 10 times more sinister. She was a 20-year-old hero, Sarah Beckstrom, shot by the CIA asset near the White House. Her name spiked on Google Trends in Israel on November 22nd, 4 days before the hit. Not just Israel, her name's popping up in 9+ random spots worldwide. Obscure islands, far-flung dots, no civilian would even know. Leaked soldier data, deep state compromise, or is this one world government playbook already live? And you got the shooter, the CIA-backed paramilitary ties. He drove cross country for the ambush. Trump's pausing Afghan visas. Oh, how convenient. Again, we're asking honest questions. Is this a complete coincidence, convenience sake to do the thing he was going to do anyways? And you're pausing visas, you're upping military presence in multiple U.S. cities. Or was this a psyop to reignite Muslims equal terror?
Yeah.
Right. Which is the fear factor, paving a way for reinstating the ban, plus labeling Muslim Brotherhood terrorists. Yes, we got to get that back in the lexicon, don't we, Craig?
Yes.
So there's so much red flags here. It's just screaming this, and then what's going to happen? You're going to love this one. So we look at the paper trail on Sarah Beckstrom, and the SCIF guy says, I knew they would erase this after I found it, but this is the Googled the 4 days before. This is the actual stuff. So this is the screenshot. That's her on the right. You can see this is one of the screenshots on November 22nd, the big spike. But look what happens next. Boom, James Lee says, and right on cue, all the evidence has been wiped by Google. And that's it. That's all she wrote.
You know, I'm starting to question at this point, like, do they want us to know this information? If they wanted us to know all this stuff, what are they trying? How are they trying to manipulate us? What narrative are they putting out there? You know what I'm saying? It's weird to me because it seems like they're not covering their tracks, right? Like these tracks would have been covered before they could have. I mean, are they that dumb? Are they that naive? Are they that stupid?
No.
So I don't know what to believe at this point. All I know is that our government is lying to us all the time for whatever reason and just trying to figure that out. But to me, this seems like way too sloppy, Matt. Way too sloppy.
It's
sloppy. I don't know. I don't know how you feel, but it just doesn't seem right to me.
It's sloppy because they can get away with it. No one's going to be held accountable for any of this. You can wipe Google whenever you want. You can, Elon could change Grok anytime he wants. You can deflect reporters and call them fake news anytime you want. You can fire people.
Why not have it erased before people can go look at it? Why would they leave it out there for people to see? Are they that lazy?
You keep us in our camps. We have our camp is we ask the right questions right away. We don't fall for the bullshit of it's too soon. We don't fall for that one. You guys know that one, right? The whole don't ask questions about 9/11. People are grieving. Don't ask questions about Lahaina. People are grieving. Don't ask questions. No. That's exactly when you ask questions. So we're in that camp. That's us. We're here. So they do this for us. So we stay in our camp of we had this shit and now it's gone. And then you have the other two camps, which they've been working on these. They've been fine-tuning these so well. I don't know who's remaining in them, but there's a lot of people. If you add up the numbers, these other two camps, ones that are the Trumpers that are like, yes, we need more military now, more patrolling of U.S. citizens. More canceling of visas, more Islamophobia. You have the other side saying, look at Trump deliberately messing everything up and trying to blame everything on Biden. We have to go after Trump. We have to go after Trump. We have to go after Trump. So there you go. That's your I think it's 3 camps now.
No, you're making a lot of sense. You're really explaining this there. I think that's a reason why they do definitely want to keep people divided. When we talked about the Charlie Kirk murder, we explained like who had the most to gain, right? I think there's multiple groups too as well. Like that's why I'm saying I don't think Israel acted alone. I think they're working with Western elites. They're part of the same clan. They're part of the same group.
We talk about the power dynamic, and that's kind of an offshoot of the conversation. But the point is, they deliberately put us in these camps. And you talk about this. I think the sloppiness is key. You're pointing out the sloppiness. There's no difference between this paper trail being so in our face obvious. It's the same as when the FBI, when Kash Patel releases that text chain between Tyler Robinson and his apparent furry lover. It's so bad. They didn't even try to make it look like authentic.
It's almost like they wanted us to see it, right, Matt?
What's that?
It's almost like they wanted us to see it, right?
They wanted our camp, the third camp, the ones that ask the questions at the right time, which is right away. We don't wait a year. We don't wait 25 years to say 9/11 looked a little weird, don't you think? We do it right away. We learned our lesson. If we were late before, we won't be late again.
Don't make fun of Tucker, okay? You don't deserve that.
No, but there's people, like, I admit, like, it took me, when did I start? I don't know. When I started asking about 9/11, actually, I guess I was kind of early compared to other people. I think 2005. I was like, let me look at this. A lot of
I did a year after when I saw this video, and I don't know if it's a fake video or whatnot about the Pentagon and how it was a missile that hit it, not a plane. Now that I'm kind of thinking it was a plane, but it did make me question a lot of things. And this is something that Whitney Webb has said. What's that?
No plane went into the Pentagon. That didn't happen.
Jamie Cheese Slice, if he was here, he'd disagree with you on that one.
He disagrees as devil's advocate. He doesn't say, I'm going to bring the proof of that it was a plane. He's saying it's hard for him to wrap his head around it. I get it. There's skepticism there. I'm telling you, no plane went into the Pentagon. I'm telling you that. No plane went into the Pentagon. Ask Jason Burmis. He was one of the first.
Jason Burmis is debated Reed Coverdale on it, and Reed, I think, really showed a strong point in that debate. The funny thing is, though, what I was saying about what Whitney Webb said is that when 9/11 came out, they had that third camp who questions everything. They were fighting amongst each other on the details. Saying what happens, and that's something also too that kind of I think deters the progress we can make too as well.
I got to give Jason Burmis credit because he was one of the first, that group that did Loose Change, right?
Yeah,
Loose Change.
Yeah.
They were the first of their kind. Yeah. There was no misinformation. There was no cancellation on the internet. There was no YouTube. There was none of that. So they were the first ones to say, we have DVDs of this. We're going to give them out for free. And then they had their website and they were like giving it out. And they were being hammered by people. How dare you? Too soon. Let the families grieve. Let them. They don't want to have conversations. They're like, no, we're just here asking questions. And they said right away, so this is pre-COVID, right? We're not experts. We're just asking questions. We're not saying that we have the answers. We're just pointing out that the people that are supposed to be looking for answers are not asking these questions. So we're going to ask them. I give him that credit for helping me get into that mindset. And again, I started in about 2005 and I haven't looked back since. Yeah, it's been years after that I started this show, but I'm telling you, the way you look at the world, ask the right questions. Don't feel like that you have to be an expert and have the answer. And this is when we talk about, we have we have friendly debate on Charlie Kirk. We say we have a right to ask these questions. We don't have to have the answers yet, but we have a right to ask them, just like with this DC shooting. Same thing, same model. Yeah, we're consistent, man. We're consistent.
I got to tell you that Loose Change is it was my prep work for when I was going on that show, Surrounded, Jubilee, you know what I'm saying? And I was able to take a lot of what he's talked about, very convincing, all the receipts there. And he fact-checked my the fact checks. And he was like, no, the fact checks that they put up on me, he disproved those fact checks. I might have been off a little bit on one or two of the actual points, but in general, I was right about what was going on. And I really tried to make it as simple as can be. A 3-point plan. Number one, the connections between the hijackers and U.S. intel. That really shows you that there was an inside job. Number two, the whistleblowers that were shut down every single time they were coming forth with evidence and whatnot, and they were on the trail. They were shut down and stopped from their own agencies. The FBI shut down investigations, the CIA, the Department of Homeland Security. In fact, one of the guys quit the FBI and he went to work in the World Trade Center and he died on the point of the attack. And third, the aftermath. Everything the security state got, everything the military industrial complex got, everything that happened in the wake of the 9/11 terror attack of sorts was everything. It was a wet dream for those in power who want more power and less civil liberties for us. They got everything they wanted, plus endless war. So for me, I hear you, but it's interesting that you say about the whole missile in the plane and whatnot, because I'm kind of like, it was a missile.
Listen, goes.
I'm not saying it wasn't a missile. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying I don't know for sure. But that first video I saw about it was a missile.
Those windows where the wings should have been were intact. It's weird, right?
There's a debate between Reed Coverdale and Jason Burmis, if you can find it. The Jackman brothers hosted it. It's very compelling. You should take a look at it. So,
all right, I'm always open for new information.
Matt, I don't know. I can't put my finger on that.
I was telling you, I was asking questions in 2005 about 9/11. It didn't even occur to me. The Israel part didn't even occur to me till years later. So I'm always open to more information, more questions beyond the questions that we are initially asking. And that's how we should do it. We should always be open for more. More information can help inform even a stronger opinion, or even if we have to change a little bit of our opinion to get to the truth. It's a constant search for the truth, and we should constantly be wanting to move towards it. Always. Yep. With that, let's keep this conversation one more on this issue, because I have to remind you that the three camps we're talking about, the most dangerous camp is the one that wants to up the military presence right now, is the one that wants to ban visas, is the one that wants to basically declare war on Islam, whatever that even means, which is, it's so weird to have that. But this is Pam Bondi telling us what they're going to do now as a response, because we have to respond. We have to, right? This is our respond to the war on terror. Here we go.
Hand in hand with Secretary Noem, Homeland Security. Director Patel has already arrested 500 suspected terrorists since January 20th. We're working hand in hand with Pete Hegseth. And yes, we are bringing in our National Guard to every city we possibly can. Who needs our help? And that's a lot of them. We're tied up, as you know, in a lot of court hearings right now. These young men and women in the Guard, they want to help our country. They want to be here. They are patriots, yet they will not be attacked by a radical Islamic terrorist who screams by reports, Ali Akbar, before shooting 2 of our Guard members and almost killing more.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah, this is disgusting. And I just want to follow that up with a little this is how the news outlets, because we showed you earlier about the Guardian having to admit, and all the news outlets had to admit the guy was CIA. So how do they walk that back? Well, Trump gave the cue on that. He said mental illness, it can happen to anyone, and they all fell in line. And these is the articles that came up after that. Rolling Stone, fellow unit member says alleged DC shooter felt abandoned by the CIA. Oh, it was a feeling situation. The Afghan who served in the U.S.-backed Zero unit struggled with apparent mental health issues. There it is. After migrating to America in 2021. The alleged shooter was struggling with mental illness, his ability to support his family, and according to an Afghan veteran who fought with him, his pleas for help to the CIA went unanswered. And then, of course, later in the article, he says the Sarah Beckstorm, 20, died of her injuries following the Wednesday shooting. And the other guy, Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, 24, remains in critical condition. So this is the spin again that's going on. Meanwhile, we're upping the Trump military presence in every city, and Pam Bondi's happy to announce it.
Yep. And once again, the discussion that's being swept under the rug is, he even said, Donald Trump, right? This guy went a little cuckoo. Why? What medications were he on? RFK pointed out in his campaign when he was running for president, before he went on behind Donald Trump and the Maha movement in his camp, he was talking about a lot of these mass shooters being on SSRIs, right? Which is another form. It's a synthetic opiate, I believe, as well. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know these are harsh drugs that really mess with people's mental state. My good friend Steve Poikonen from Slow News Day was going to write a book on this one day, how dangerous these things can be and how, out of place they are. Now, we've talked about before the opioid addiction with fentanyl and how all these doctors wrote prescriptions, but this is another thing right now. Once again, Big Pharma is not having any accountability for people's mental state for giving them these drugs, really screwing with their brains, and then they're going cuckoo. Why are they going cuckoo? Society has something to do with it. The struggling of finances, not knowing how you're going to take care of your family, of course. But when you couple that with some of these drugs that are really mind-altering, the chances of these people going cuckoo are very simple. That's why I'm saying, this is something that we pointed out in the morning show too, as well, is that you don't need to what's the word when you implant somebody's brain, what they did to Sirhan.
MK Ultra.
You don't have to MK Ultra people anymore.
Well,
they're already at a point where they're ready to snap. You just have to identify them and give them enough ammunition to push them to let them go, and then take advantage of the situation after it's done. The disaster capitalism mentality. When something is done, whether you forced it or not, whether it's for false flag or it happened, you have to take advantage of the situation by taking away people's civil liberties, giving yourself more spying power, upping the budget for the military-industrial complex. In this particular case, the security state, they said plain and simple, Matt, they're going to put more security guards, more National Guards in the streets over there. I mean, and people are they're just so fucking hypnotized with the team sports mentality that they're going along with this stuff, that they think it's okay. The right is guilty of the same thing the left was doing last time around. They're not principled. It's about being principled. Free speech, absolutist. Civil liberties, very important. Police identifying themselves, all these things that they're doing right now. It's just a form of what the left was doing. It's all built upon emotions and feelings.
Yeah. No, and I think the MK Ultra has gotten better. I mean, it started out as this experimental thing. They've gotten, obviously, with technology getting easier to control people with, whatever. There's so many techniques now you can use. And like you're saying about people's mental health going through this anyways, there's so many possible targets they could go after. And this guy, you only need one guy to come through at the end. So you can certainly keep track of a bunch of them and say, who's the best candidate for this? So there's a lot of ways you can go about it, but certainly with the Google Trends spike and seeing the paper trail on this thing clearly, and the incentives from this happening and how you can mobilize new policy, more military state presence and all that stuff we talk about that Trump is doing. These are the things that the MK Ultra it could be little elements of it. And I think in this case, there certainly has to be some involved. And I do think that the mental health excuse is a very easy one, because you're right, Craig. There's people that are suffering regardless of whether that they were mind controlled or not. They're just suffering because they were in an experience. I mean, let's remind people, this is what we did in Afghanistan. This is how did this happen? This is what happens when you take young people and put them in a situation. U.S. soldiers killed Afghan civilians for sport and collected fingers as trophies. So let's not forget where we come from. We know about Abu Ghraib. We know about, even in the last 2 years, we can go all day about crimes committed against Palestinians, but there's an idea that we're going to war. You have to do the right thing for your country, and these brave, proud heroes are they are the victims in some cases. They're the ones getting picked up, manipulated into a situation, especially when you're really, really, really young, and then you're used as a tool, however you're needed, in whatever capacity you're needed. And this dude certainly was needed in some capacity. And you know what? Mission accomplished.